Recording.
All right, it is December 28th, 10 past 5, and this is the, whoop. The screen just changed. And this is the meeting of the library trustees with Simon Fairfield Public Library. We do have a quorum. I see the minutes were sent around. I was not here, so I won't vote, but did everybody else get a chance to read them?
I wasn't there, but I did read them.
Yep, no issues with the minutes for me.
All right, if there's no changes, I will accept a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes of the November something meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I will abstain since I wasn't here. All right, minutes are accepted. Moving on to the financial report.
Finance report. In our personnel account, there's one thing you'll see here this month, which I haven't had on here in previous months, and that is a $2,000 longevity bonus line. Because that was something that was voted at the annual town meeting. And so Gail and Deb, both for their longevity of service, got, $1,000 each from the town.
Nice.
So it's gonna end up coming out of our personnel budget, but the money is going to be put in to cover it. If it even matters, because we're looking to probably have a surplus budget by the end of the year anyway, because, of COVID and all this stuff. We'll probably be turning quite a bit of personnel money back to the town this particular year. And, we're going to be closed for the ceiling remodel as well. So don't be surprised there. That's just something that is kind of, we're getting the money and it's going away, but I put it here just to keep things clean.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
They definitely deserve it.
that's right.
In operations, there's nothing new to report. We're just continuing to chug through, the fiscal year. Article 10 repair account still has not been closed out because I haven't gotten the invoice yet from Morissette, but the money or the work has been done. As for the trustee accounts, pretty much the same as last month, only there's an extra $2,000 in regular donations because of two $1,000 donations. Janet Carrick in Texas and Wayne Shoemate in Georgia both sent $1,000. And this is the third year in a row that Wayne has sent $1,000 to the library for Rebecca to use on archive improvement. So whenever she comes back, we've got to chat with her about going shopping because she's got this funding and she should be back in January. I'm looking forward to that. Also, Ellie has an account, which I'm not sure exactly what it is, but every year Ellie is donating $1,500 to the building donation with interest account. And that happened as well. So we, made money this past month.
Yay.
It's actually Evan's retirement. We don't spend money, so might as well spend his retirement on the library.
That's great.
Well, thank you, Evan.
Fantastic.
And I didn't get it on the actual report here, but there's a subheading for talking about the interest-bearing building accounts because Ellie has a letter pinned that she shared. So I'll let her or y'all, take that discussion.
Oh, there it is. Shoemate.
But
Did everybody get to read it? And Dawn, did I put some revisions on it as well? I don't know if I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I don't know.
I can, yeah, do you want me to share the screen for that? Oh,
Sure.
Justin, are you doing that?
yep, I'm working on it.
Okay,
Here it is.
okay, great.
Yeah, okay, good.
Small. I'm gonna make it bigger.
All those edits are good.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I especially wanted Barbara's input on those.
I like them.
Um, Bartholomew, I understand is a fund that gains interest, but I don't know, it may be Matt, he probably understands it well, but for me, I'm like, well, what's Bartholomew? That was the only thing that I wasn't sure if we could link or explain.
Yeah, he'll know
Well,
what we're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't need.
Oh, Ellie, is that the same thing, the same one we talked about several years ago?
yeah, they came and talked to us.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Cheryl, the town treasurer, brought them in, and the finance director was there too. And they seemed to indicate at the time, yeah, we can do anything like that for you. And it was when Joe was still around too, as a trustee. I remember him chatting with them and
Yeah, yeah.
liking Coca-Cola or something like that. But it was, they were very in favor of it, but then for some reason we can't get it. So I talked with my friend Gary Bridgman, who is on the trustees in the Southbridge Library, as well as runs the American Optical Foundation for the old American Optical in
Mhm.
Southbridge, and he told me that several years ago, Southbridge was given $250,000 and the town didn't wanted to manage it. And they argued against it. And then the town was going to sue them that they had to give the money to the town. And the town would have to listen to them. And then, so they said, okay, sue. And then the town backed down and have allowed them to, and that's what Gary was saying, just so everybody understands, when people give money to the library, they're not giving it to the town, they're giving it to the library, and the library trustees manage that.
Okay.
And so that's what the big thing that he told me, is coming out of all of that. So what I want to know is if everybody supports this sort of oomph, because I've gotten in trouble with the town before, or just sort of slapped on my face or thrown mud at or whatever. So it's, if you're not behind it, then I won't pursue it. But it just makes me sick that we got $6.44 in interest this past year from our interest-bearing account, whereas the $10,000 that the R.S. Douglas Fund has as their permanent donation, they got $44.21. And so we should be.
So I'm sure it varies, but what is the rate that they estimate that we'd get, or we don't know?
We don't know. You can look at, it's basically they're involved in the stock market, but
Okay.
the town puts their reserve fund in there, which is well over $1 million to be managed.
Okay. Yeah, so they're familiar with it.
But the argument, he makes a very compelling argument that you cite. And so that's really, the issue is not really the rate. The issue is what are we allowed to do with the money,
Yeah.
right? So can we decide where it goes?
Well, that's basically what I tried to say at the very end
Yeah.
of the last sentence, that we want it to go into the Bartholomew Fund.
And to me, it's a persuasive logic.
Yeah.
So we don't know if the stabilization, cemetery, and scholarship are in Bartholomew?
I know they get decent, and I don't have the town report with me right now, but under the treasurer's report, in the town report, it does talk about those and the library, the $10,000 for the R.S. Douglas Fund are all in the same category, which I think is they label it for, I don't know why, the stabilization fund. And then the stabilization is one part of it, but then cemetery is another part. Whatever the other things that I mentioned in there are. So the scholarships are another part. And there was one other, but I can't remember what it is.
So what is the reason that they said in the past we couldn't do this?
I
This
don't
stuff goes
know.
right over my head, so.
Yeah. Well, I think what I was arguing was, listen, we're trustees, so therefore we can determine where it goes. And they said, no, you don't have a formal, and this was when Justin first started there. So maybe he remembers this because it was one of the first things he experienced in being director. But I think they were saying that we needed an actual document that said you can, these things are, this is a legal document saying this is a trust fund.
Yeah.
But I don't think you actually have to have that, as Gary is indicating, that the funds came to the Douglas Library, the library trustees managed those funds.
Mhm.
So they're the ones
That
that
has to do
determine.
with the actual investment company too, Bartholomew, because the RS Douglas money is a trust, which we have documentation for, which there's, like a legal paper trail that says we cannot spend it. Then that money can earn a ridiculously higher interest rate than money that we can spend, because we can give Bartholomew, they're not going to be able to invest in the same portfolio something that we can take back, as opposed
Right.
to something that they keep and feed us the interest from.
Mhm.
Well, I don't agree with that, just because of what the Southbridge Library, Jacob Edwards Library, is doing. They currently use the Southbridge's Bartholomew account for their investments.
Okay, and this back and forth has gone off long enough. I think we just need to have Matt and Jean invite them to our next trustee meeting, and so that the trustees and them can sort of hash this out directly.
I think we need Bartholomew there too, because when they came before, Barbara, as you recall, they did indicate that we could put funds in there. We're not doing it. I understand what Jean was saying, that she didn't really say this, but it came across as, well, if you're going to be putting it in and taking it out, putting it in and taking it out, that's not good. That's not what Bartholomew is for. It's for sort of a long-term investment. Now, cemetery funds, if they're going to, I don't know how, I don't have a cemetery account, so I don't know how those work. I do know how scholarships work, that I doubt that they have a trust, a piece of paper trust, that you just know that it's these donations have been made to the town for scholarship, and the income from those scholarships come out once a year at graduation time, and that's when they award them to the students that warrant the awarding. So I don't, and we're in, and this is another thing that Gary had said, you're going to be sort of investing for what, 5 years or so? And I said, yeah. And
Yeah,
he says, well, that's long-term.
right.
Yeah.
Right. It makes perfect sense for the interest bearing building fund, because it's going to sit there for a while. We're not going to be in and out like they were, whomever was afraid of. So
we won't
yeah,
be
I think
in
it sounds
and
good.
out.
So then do we maybe want to add, so do we want to send this letter, but maybe add a sentence about inviting them to the January whatever meeting? And then
I don't know. I almost wish we could talk with Bartholomew again. And
okay.
I wouldn't mind them being there for that chat.
Yeah, so maybe it's send the letter and then if they agree to a meeting, then then maybe it's the meeting after and when we have Bartholomew involved.
Well, before we invite them, we want to find out the percentages they would give us, because if it's like a 1% difference, it might not be worth going through all the effort.
But you're saying it's the stock market, right? So it's whatever the stock market.
Yeah, and it's a conservative, it's not, people who are scared of the stock market, I'm not, but people who are, they have probably had experiences or have read about experiences that are, I think I'll invest in Airbnb and because it's a public company now, but I don't know.
How about Bitcoin, huh?
Yeah, right, exactly. It's those, what they are investing in, what Bartholomew told us 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, whenever it was that they invest in conservative stuff. And why would the town put the stabilization fund in a wacky account?
Will they be able to give you a percentage? Be like,
I
if we put
think
our
they
money with you
did.
guys,
I
we'll
don't
give you.
have the brochure anymore. I did for years, have it in piles, but it's probably in another pile now, but I'm not going to go look for it. And we could ask Cheryl to get us, because it's Cheryl that deals with Bartholomew, to get the poop sheet from Bartholomew and distribute it to us so we can see it all. And that's what the guys talked about when they talked to us. They had their brochure. It showed the types of investments that they do for conservative town investment stuff, and it's better than what banks provide.
Yeah, we just want to make sure to have all the information before we bring other people into the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So Nick, do you think that's good to have copies of the brochure?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to do it, we need to know, if it's worth it, and then the percentage we're getting now.
Oh, not much.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, the difference between, earning $6 and $40 might not be worth all the hassle, but if it's a difference between $500 and $1,000, then that might be worth it.
Yeah.
But I also think we need to know the answer to this question: can we do it or not, regardless of the rate?
What the amount, the amount of return that you get on it?
Yeah, because rates could change in the future too. So it's to me, it's two separate things. Philosophically, if we're allowed to do this, apart from the rate, whether it makes sense to do it or not, first we need to know if we can, and then we can decide if it's worth it because of the rate. If the rate the difference is inconsequential, then Nick says, well, maybe we shouldn't bother at this point. But it'd be good to know if we can. For starters,
the holdup for Cheryl and Jean is that they don't think they can do this according to Mass General Law, which is why we've got to get this sorted out with, the trustees, Jean and Matt, I think, before we reach out to an external agency.
Yeah.
I mean, town council might be more qualified to answer too.
They did. I asked them. They were no help whatsoever. And then I asked Matt to follow through on it. And I said, how do I make it so money I give to the library is put in this interest-bearing account? And he said, just make it known when you give the money. And that's what I do every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when the check is drawn, it says it's to be put into an interest-bearing account for the building fund of the library. And
with whom?
It doesn't say, because we've been shot down over and over and over again, but it just ticks me off every I'll come back and see something like this, and the interest of $6.44, and it just drives me nuts because I get the same amount from Unibank for the Friends, and that's what we're getting. It's from Unibank, and
I know, and the stock market has gone so crazy. So we've lost whatever we've lost over these years. Let's not lose any more.
But if we've been shot down, which I remember being shot down many times, if that to me is the question, if it's not legal to do this, then not sure if it's worth pursuing and getting into an antagonistic relationship with the town.
So how do we do it?
Told that
nicely?
It's not legal.
So how do we get that answer? Because I checked with Gary, as I said, he's a lawyer too, and he said it's legal. You can do it. So I need the statute that makes it illegal. And I've never been given that.
Okay. So maybe that's added to the letter, like a call to action sort of a thing. Like, can you explain if this is not doable, why? Like, help me to understand, help us to understand.
Okay, that sounds that. So if we take this letter that's been worked on and just add that last sentence and send it to Matt, I prefer to send it to Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how other people feel. I know you want to include Jean, Justin, but Matt's her boss, so.
But you're basically asking for some further guidance, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have an opinion on that.
Given this information.
Okay, so is that, can we move that we send this revised letter with, please provide further guidance why this can or cannot be done at the end?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a motion. A motion, whether or not we vote towards a yay on that.
And send it to Matt.
I don't have an opinion on that. I'm not sure what to say.
I think it's a good starting point.
Are y'all satisfied with the written response from him, or do you want him at the next trustee meeting?
I think if it's a positive, then we want him at the meeting. But if it's a negative and it's clearly spelled out, we don't need him there.
Right.
That's my opinion. So it's hard to put that in the letter because we don't know what the outcome's going to be about inviting him. He's not invited, which is good news.
Well, we could ask him. He would be welcome to attend the next meeting if he forced to do it that way, something like that.
Yeah. Justin, since you have the screen going, do you maybe want to draft that last sentence and we can just like give our input? And
Let's see.
I like what Barbara's saying, that we can try to.
Okay, so how do we want this at the end?
I don't know if Ellie wants to say it or.
Well, I just wrote this down. Please, which was something that somebody said here. Please provide further guidance why this can or cannot be done.
And you could say we could welcome you to our next trustee meeting or meeting to talk about it further as well.
Right, and I'll give you the date. January 25th, Tuesday, January 25th at 5.
As well.
Remotely.
As well.
Zoomed.
That was, say, we would welcome as well. I would put that at the end. Oh, okay.
We would love as well.
No, we would welcome you. No, we would welcome you at our next trustee meeting to talk about this further on January 25 at 5 p.m. as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
No love.
No love.
And then can we sign it? Just no.
Whoa.
And then can we just sign it? Douglas Library, Simon Fairfield Public Library Trustees without names, or how do we do that?
Yeah, I think so.
And then like tomorrow's date.
Comma. December 29, comma.
I already have a comma there.
I think we want the date at the top though, right?
Oh, I thought December
somebody
29th.
needs to,
No, that's good. Yeah,
this up a little bit tomorrow. We're so concerned.
we're gonna get rid of those yeah,
Yeah, then save the change.
those edits. Edit.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Oh, I didn't realize I could do this over here. I could just do checks and pop them off. See.
Well, the rate of was, there should have been a space in there, but
I noticed an extra space in the first paragraph too. We're changing things.
see where that, yeah, cursor is. Good.
Okay, and then on the next line, their personal accountant on the right, we went too far down, has an extra space. Second
Over, yeah,
physical line,
that second to the last word.
you got it.
Should we do this outside of the meeting so Justin doesn't have to go through this?
And send a copy to all the library trustees, send it to Justin Snook and the library trustees and to Matt. So copy to all of us and you when you send it.
Oh, it should probably be sent by a trustee.
By a
rather than-
trustee, yeah. It should probably be sent by Danielle, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if she can hear us.
You have that to generate, you see that one? Okay, there you
To
go.
generate.
Yeah, that's good. You got it.
So are we thinking email or mail?
Why is an anonymous? There we go.
I'd send it by email.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'll copy this and put it on letterhead
Okay.
as a PDF and then send it out tomorrow just for a quick thumbs up before. Well, and then I'll pass that along to Danielle. So I'll send it to the trustees, and then Danielle could forward it along to Matt.
Okay.
You can explain it to her.
So did we vote on this motion to do it like this?
I don't think we officially did. So I move to accept the drafted letter to the town administrator regarding investments.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes.
My to-do list.
Let's see.
There we go.
All right, are we set to move on to director's report?
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, so right now our winter story time is set to begin January 3rd with the same limitations on the size of groups and mask requirements. Depending on how the next 2 weeks pan out pandemic wise, though, we may move it virtual. Some of the data coming out of New York City points to the Omicron variant leading to more hospitalizations among children than previous strains, which is precisely what we don't want. But I'm still kind of maintaining the, like the library is not a locus of COVID spread in the community. We are slow, our traffic is down. We rarely have more than 1 or 2 people browsing at a time or 1 or 2 family units. The story times coming together are much smaller than what people are doing out in schools and daycares and all sorts of other things. So, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of the opinion that people understand the risks. We do everything we can to mitigate them, but I don't want to deprive, people who are taking precautions and willing to take those risks from library programming when they're not being deprived of other things. That's just where I'm kind of at. I am closing the library at 5 p.m. on January 30th. It's the night before New Year's Eve. We're going to close the library at 5, but all staff are going to report for a long overdue all staff meeting, check-in, and holiday party. We haven't all been in, the same meeting since before, March 2020. And we need to check in. And this is kind of, it's going to be a mix of holiday party and professional development, talking about schedules, preparing the calendar for next year and that kind of thing.
Okay. Is that December 30th, Justin?
December 30th. Yeah, the night before New Year's Eve.
Okay.
New Year's Eve is on a Friday. And we're just going to close the library at 5 p.m. the day before.
Okay.
We're ironing the kinks out with the new laptops for in-house use. For some reason, the circulation desk printer shows up at the very bottom of a list of like send to PDFs, make it as virtual fax and all sorts of stuff. But they're working well. Some patrons have been taken aback by the fact that they have to provide a library card now to use a computer, whereas they didn't have to before. But once they have the machine in their hand and realize how much faster and better it is, and the fact that they can move around the library, that, kind of, it makes up for it. By and large, people are happy with them. One thing I'm considering based on a newspaper clipping that Ellie sent me is having a Valentine's Day fundraiser of sorts. So where it's not really a fundraiser, but we give people the opportunity to buy a book for their Valentine. So basically have a list of books already put out that I would be intending on buying anyway. And have it possible for a patron to select a book, write a check. It would go into our account. We would use that to pay for it instead of, our operational money, and have a book plate in it with a dedication on it. Another library does this around Christmas time. It's like, buy a gift for the library for Christmas, and then you can, have a customized book plate in it. I thought maybe instead of Christmas, do it for Valentine's Day. If that's too corny or over the top, then this is your chance to let me know.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Really cool.
Like it.
I already have a book picked out that I'm going to give.
We're starting to get a little bit of activity back in the library that we haven't had in a long time. We've had some tutors coming back in. We're starting to have kids come in, during, after school hours. But, the tutoring's a big one because tutors come in, they stay for an hour or more with a kid. It's, a service that's kind of returning. Although overall we're slow, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And one other thing I wanted to talk about are tables. In the action plan, I talked about next year replacing furniture with stuff that's ADA compliant and, you know, that just makes sense in our space. But I did a little bit of research about how high surfaces have to be off the ground and how much leg clearance has to be underneath. And so I took one of the tables that we already have. I shaved off the edges of it to make it smaller, because right now our tables are too big for the space we have. And, you know, no more than 2 to 4 people ever sit down. I mean, they're just way too big for that. I'd like to have more tables out, but they're too big, because if you have 2 tables or 3, it eats up the room. So I chopped off the edges, and that made it a much more reasonable size. And another thing I plan on doing is taking a Sawzall and cutting basically, you know, where the legs go down to the ground, you've got lips that support the oak tops. And those lips, if they're cut into a couple inches, then they have enough leg space to be ADA compliant. So whenever the library ends up closing for however long for the ceiling repair, I'm hoping to give all of the tables this treatment. I've got one pretty much done if you want to come in and look at it before the next meeting. And you know, it looks a little different. It's not the same table as it was before, but it's preserving something we already have. And I don't want to like pitch these things out, because I'm pretty sure they've been here since 1903. I know they were refurbished during the Second World War. So if we can refurbish them again and modify them to make them ADA compliant so that we can keep them moving forward, I just think that would be cool.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great.
As far as circulation goes, I was expecting circulation to be down because we have not had a lot of traffic. I mean, you know, I don't want to say the library's dead, but a lot of times it seems that way. But circulation is actually not that shabby. We've circulated more books in November of 2021 than we've circulated since I started here. And, you know, our circulation counts are comparable to 2018 and 2019. They're above 2017 and 2015. So I started looking into the data. You know, our circulation counts are up, but our transaction counts have bottomed out. Basically, what's happened is the pandemic has altered behavior in a way that, you know, like the patrons who used to come in every other day for a new book are now coming in every other week for an armload of books. They just don't want to be here that often. They don't want to be in that much. So they're coming and getting material in bulk. Which means even though our circulation desk is dead and I'm scrambling to find stuff for people to do, our cert counters is actually good. We're circulating good. It's a different, you know, degree of traffic. And that's something I don't know if it's going to go back to normal or if, you know, these habits are going to stick around. But, you know, if they do stick around, it's going to make, you know, the next few years interesting, because we probably need to do some kind of adjusting. Because if circulation traffic does not pick up to the point where it was pre-pandemic, we simply won't need as many staff hours moving forward, because we're not going to need as much circulation desk coverage. And that money could be transferred into operations. But I think it's too soon to tell, but that's definitely a possibility looking forward, you know, not this coming fiscal year, but whenever, well, assuming by the time we get to preparing the FY24 budget, we're kind of on the other side of all this COVID mess. Depending on how patrons' behavior has changed and whether it's going to bounce back or whether they're going to permanently have moved more digital and, you know, less frequent shoppers, we'll probably want to do some adjusting just to make sure that we're, you know, using our resources effectively and getting the best bang for the buck we can out of our money.
I have a question. That it relates to what I had asked several weeks ago, where there's a 8-hour program that's on the Beatles, and I asked Justin if he could get me a copy of it. And he said, no way, because it's a streaming type of thing. And so that bugs me. And then also the new, the prequel to Yellowstone, which I'm hooked on, is I didn't watch the thing the other day where I had a freebie to watch it. And so, but now I'd have to go on to their streaming station in order to see it. And that bothers me. Is the library world doing anything to, I mean, because the whole point of what we used to do with the videos or in DVDs and stuff like that was to provide something where people didn't have to spend money, just like on books, that they didn't have to spend money on books. They didn't have to spend money on DVDs or videos or UHFs or whatever. Because the library would buy them or borrow them from another library. And I know this whole streaming thing is a brand new thing, but it gets pricey. And is there something that the library world is doing to try to make it so it would be wonderful for the library patrons to get the streaming stuff free or whatever? And you said no, but people must be talking about it, Justin.
Some people are talking about it. There has been right now, the focus has been a lot more on books and audiobooks. And, you know, but that's kind of a different conversation, but that's where like the ALA's legislative bent has been and the MLA's legislative bent has been, is to try to get ebooks and audiobooks priced similarly to what, you know, normal people will pay for them. Because, I mean, publishers are really trying to drive us out right now of the e-world. The thing about, you know, a physical item, a physical book, or a physical DVD in this case, is that once it's produced, you know, it is intellectual property, but it's also an object which has been packaged, and so fair use laws apply. If nothing is ever actually produced and it remains just this, you know, streaming online ethereal thing, then there's no fair use law to apply to it. So, and that's what's happening right now. Like with that series, Disney is the worst. Disney is the absolute worst because they are moving all of their content into Disney Plus. And if you want to buy, you know, one of their series or what have you, you may be able to 5 or 6 years down the road, but they're doing the same thing they've done with their animated series over the years and saying, well, this is in the vault and it'll be released again in 20 years. You know, so if you want to watch Rescuers Down Under, you know, hopefully you have a VHS from the 1990s, because that's the only way you're going to watch it. And Discovery Channel is doing the same thing. We've got some patrons who, you know, have pretty much stopped using the library because we can't get our hands on that material anymore. They like the you know, the Bear Grylls and the nature documentaries and, you know, those kinds of things that they used to come to the library, place on hold. Well, those never see the light of day as a physical format anymore. They're not making DVDs or Blu-rays. They're just keeping them on their streaming service. And so that's going to be a fortress that's going to be hard to tear down.
But I think on a national level, like with ALA, American Library Association, it would be good for them to pursue it. You know, they've done a good job on audio stuff, and Libby. The whole thing with Libby is great. You know, that it's available to us now on our telephones would be due. But I mean, I would be lost if I didn't have that anymore. And so there must be something that they are talking about that would give results for stuff like this, you know, on the national level. And, you know, I'm not asking for you to just, you know, figure out something for me a Douglas resident. I want this as a nation, the national effort to go forward and just keep us posted if anything comes up, because you read the junk, the professional stuff. I don't, so.
My impression is it's going to be a long time before anything gets sorted out, and things are probably going to get messier before they get better.
Well, if they don't, I mean, if they do, or if they're talking about it, let's keep us informed about it.
Okie doke.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I'm curious if there's even a corporate, or not really corporate, but institutional version of, say, a Hulu or Netflix subscription. You've got Canopy, but which is designed that way. But are there others that are more, for home use, that you can get a library version of them? Because then it could be shared either between our region or between the state if it was legal with their.
Yeah, it'll basically take, a law being passed to make a company do that.
Okay. All right. So we're talking major.
So we should write to our senators.
Lose,
okay.
50 potential subscribers by giving a library an institutional membership. And, like in the stance that Disney is taking right now, like you can't even get, or not Apple TV. Disney, Apple TV, Discovery are like the bad ones. Netflix and Amazon have, their exclusives, but they're still releasing them on DVD after a while. And, like then we can buy them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, things like what my daughter does is she wanted to watch or catch up on Yellowstone. So she joined Paramount, I think it is, or whatever. It begins with a P, whatever it is, for Yellowstone. But what she does is she'll only join for a month, and then she discontinues her stuff. So she's only paying, $8 or $9 for that 1 month to watch 3 years worth of Yellowstone. And she said, and they also have Survivor. So she's going to get drawn into it all, for a long time. But
yeah, that's Paramount Plus, because that's where Survivor is.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I'm probably going to do with. I just haven't figured out the strategy of it. Is join Disney Plus for 1 month just to see the Beatles 8-hour show.
Well, that's what me and Carrie do. Like, we will subscribe to Paramount Plus long enough to catch up on a Star Trek series, and then we'll cancel the subscription.
Yeah.
And, Disney Plus, we'll probably subscribe to it for a month or two, in 5 or 6 years when we have time to binge watch TV to make it worth it.
Yeah, right.
But
I'm at that age and I can binge watch.
By patrons, like patrons want something clean. They want a DVD they can check out, or they want like a code they can use. And that's what's frustrating, is because, we want to buy these DVDs and we can't, because they're not producing it, but you can't make them produce them. And, we want to provide access to as many people as we possibly can. And it's not working out with this new streaming media atmosphere.
I wonder if you could stream it by the streaming services to all those stations, and then people could come into the library and hook into the library streaming membership.
I mean, we could pay for subscription fees and have, like, use the Douglas Public Library email address to sign up for monthly fees, and then people could come to the library and stream them on our computers.
Yeah.
That would end up being a bit of a costly endeavor, and I don't know, especially right now, whether it would get used with people not really staying in here.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't know what the solution is.
But anyway, just
people way above my pay grade are working on it, though.
Well, yeah, make those Chicago librarians do something.
All right, so moving on to old business. Our building projects.
So are we just dropping the handicapped access using ramps since
I'll
we
reach out to Dick Skinner before the next trustee meeting and ask him if he's still working on stuff, or if he's kind of moved on and found another pet project. Because this was all his idea, and he was pursuing it all, and said that he would kind of keep us apprised as to, you know, what he thought that it would cost to do this. And then he got really involved in the can recycle drive. But since we pulled out of that, I haven't talked to him, so I'll reach out to him before the next trustee meeting and ask for a report. In as much as he is, you know, obligated to give one, because he's really not.
Yeah. Beggars can't be choosers. But then if he doesn't want to pursue it, we could talk about whether we want to pursue that ourselves. So would still be good to know. All right, electrical systems and plastering.
Electrical is done, it just has to be paid
Yay.
for. The plastering is going to have to go through another step, because we had our, you know, quotes from electricians, from painters, from plasterers. There was no way to put those pieces together in a way that was below the $50,000 threshold, at which Matt has to put a project proposal out on the Massachusetts construction, I don't know, listserv thing. Like, now it's got to go through the formal process. So I wrote up a proposal for the work based on, you know, basically not copying and pasting everything from Morissette Electrical and from the other one, the center, the one that was going to do it all, you know, like the plasticking, the painting, and the plastering. I took those two pieces, put them together, and wrote up a project proposal that does try to tie everything into one contractor, so that, you know, that can be a time-saving piece. Sent it back to him. Now we just have to wait for bids to come in. So
now we can't get Morissette to just do the electric. We've got to get somebody that will do both.
Well, if Morissette does the Morissette quoted, they said what we were ready to go. But Morissette quoted originally $8,000 for the work. But then whenever they gave me a written quote, because that's what Adam said that they had quoted orally, it was $12,000, and that pushed us over a threshold.
I thought it was $75,000 that we voted on at town meeting.
It is.
We voted for up to $75,000 to fund the project, thinking it wasn't going to cost that much. That was like our safety net. But we can't get it done for less than $50,000 is what we have found out. So, and the $50,000 is what triggers the procurement process.
Okay.
But can we split it up between two providers, or does one person have to bid on both the electric and the plastering?
In an ideal world, one person would do both, or one contractor would do both, so that it can be coordinated. If we did,
but that didn't happen before.
Two project proposals, they would both have to go out to bid. Because if we chop it up into two pieces, it's still going to be an overall more than $50,000 project, which means it's going to have to go to bid anyway. So if we can put it out to bid and find someone who can do both, that would be awesome. If we can't, then we'll have to reword it, put the proposal out again for just the paint, plaster, the plasticking, the cleanup, and then, you know, have the electrical tacked on. But the first step would be to try to find an all-in-one vendor.
Is there any estimate of when this bidding will happen? Matt is putting out.
Yeah,
the
I sent
request.
it to Matt on, when did I send it? And sent. On okay, so he had it on December 6th, and it should be a 2-week process from whenever it was posted. So I would expect, I asked him to let me know when it was live for bidding on, so I could let all of the contractors who've provided us estimates so far know. And I haven't heard anything back yet, so I will poke him again.
Yeah, do you know what that's called? The bidding process? It's a public document. I remember I used to see those, and but I don't remember what they're called. And it should be, you should be able to see it, and that, yeah, it did come out. And I don't know if it comes out weekly or daily or what, but it's a contractor type thing that they would all get. And you should be able to see it too, because you're.
Yeah, I'm just not sure where, so I'm going to ask
Yeah.
him how to
Yeah.
access.
Okay.
In a way, this kind of makes it a lot easier for us because now it's sort of routine. Because contractors do this, they know how the process works. We wrote up the document, and now we just kind of watch it go.
All right, shall we move on to the bat? Bat habitat?
That's all I have to talk about that.
As long as he's okay.
Okay.
Any other old building business before we move on to grants? All right, capital campaign.
We're up to 31.37% of the way towards our goal.
Cool. That's amazing.
It's a jump from last meeting because we reserved the grant disbursement, and then Ellie's $1,500 came in as well.
Sweet.
Nice.
And people are noticing too. I've gotten comments from a few patrons and from a few people at town hall about how the percentage number is eking up. So
Good.
Good. Any other grant business?
No
LRP, nothing new. Friends report, Ellie?
Friends, this involves you, Kate. And
is it that time again?
Yes, it's that time again. We send out our letter in January sometime, and Kate's the one that pastes it all up in a beautiful arrangement. Justin writes something on it, and Carolyn Dorval, also the president of the Friends, also writes something. So those three people are instrumental in getting it done. I think the postal rates have already gone up. They used to go up like the end of January, but I think they've already done it this year, haven't they? Yeah. Okay. But anyway, it costs, between $600 and $700 in postage, and then we pay for the paper, and we pay for toner, and we do it all in-house. So that's nice. So anyway, that's what the Friends are up to in January.
Great. All right, I see we have the director's review attached. I don't think we need to do anything with that other than I looked it over.
I'll move that we accept it and pass it on to Danielle to sign for us and pass it on to Matt after that. I think you got a good review, Justin.
Looked pretty awesome. Good job.
Well done.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any other old business?
I just want to say I really appreciate the good review. It was nice reading things. I think everybody has a little bit of imposter syndrome right now and just wondering, what the heck is going on, and is what we're doing working? Especially with how slow the library has been traffic wise. I mean, I think everyone's having a bit of a crisis of confidence right now.
Yes, I think that's widespread.
Right.
Everything has changed.
There.
All right. New business donation jars.
Oh yeah. Justin could talk about this, can't you?
Yeah, I can. So there's donation jars in businesses around town. They were originally put out by the Rowe family. Ernest Rowe and his daughters put out donation jars to go to the library's building fund. And over the course of the last few years, they've brought in a pretty significant amount. I mean, it's close to like $2,000 or $3,000, I think, at this point. And there's one, like in the Hot Walk, and I think in Family Convenience, and in the Dunkin' Donuts that's in the Family Convenience. There's one at I need to just walk up and down Main Street all in the storefronts and kind of see where they are. But they're done. They don't want to do that anymore. And I talked to the friends about it. The friends don't seem to have an appetite for it either. And so I've got some jars. Some of them are full and they're here in the library, and I've replaced them with empty ones. So right now, I guess I'm, just switching cash out for empty jars. But then I can't turn over the cash and have it go into the interest-bearing building fund without giving the cash to Ellie, so that it can be turned into a check that says it goes into the interest-bearing building fund, because I can't just turn over cash. And I'm technically not supposed to collect. So I was wondering if a trustee would be interested in taking this on, or a couple just checking the different places. We could update the jars too. They could use a little bit of updating. They've had the same, paper on them now for about 2 or 3 years. And I'm happy to help. I'm happy to basically do everything except do it, because I can't. But just we need a way of making sure these jars get rotated out so that we don't have wads of donated cash sitting in local businesses. And then it just needs to, once it's here, I can have someone count it, and then Ellie can take it and then turn it into a check at the bank for our interest-bearing building fund. Or I guess anyone can who has a bank account, a local bank account.
I'm happy to help out with that.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, sounds like it's you and me.
Yay.
I'll be in touch.
All right, sounds good. All right. Any other new business? Look, it's not even on there. No one wants to talk about anything else.
I do want to mention one thing.
Fine.
Not really new. Justin, you had mentioned a call. I forget if I mentioned this to you in person, but you had mentioned a call for video games. So I'm going to pry some out of Massimo's hands,
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
which I'm sure
We
we'll
had
have.
one person bring in a lot
Oh, good.
disc.
I don't know if there's a
Unfortunately,
preference for one type or platform over another.
really, any of them.
Okay.
We can
All right.
slap them in the collection and see if they move.
Yeah. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to have quite a few, but we'll let you know.
All right, next meeting, January 25th. Thank you guys for moving it to 5, makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
Some things are picking up work-wise.
Good.
Yeah, but now me and Gail can't order noodles until like 6:30. So
Oh, no. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
6:15. Second.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.